Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be She Doesn't Want a Relationship But Acts Like My Girlfriend. Well, this particular email is from a guy. He says he's read 3% Man 10 times. He's now in week 7 of dating a woman he really likes, but she's not ready for a relationship because she just got out of a 7-year relationship. And for those avid readers that have done the work and read the book enough times, you know that typically, if you're following what's in the book and you're dealing with a normal, healthy woman, she's going to be in love with you around week 7 and wanting to be exclusive. The wrinkle in this guy's story here is he literally started dating this woman or spending time with her 2 weeks after she got out of a 7-year relationship. And so somebody that gets out of a 7-year relationship, probably most times going to take a year, year and a half, maybe even 2 years before they're really ready to be fully single again and get back in the dating world. But she literally just went from one relationship to potentially another one. And the thing that I talk about in the book is that when you get involved with women like this, typically what you're going to see is a lot of hot and cold behavior. So you have to let these women come to you at their pace. And it's also best if they're doing most, if not all, of the pursuing. That because what happens is women like this are hot and cold. Usually the ex is in the background and it's not completely, it's literally was 2 weeks. But you don't know what the story was, but it was a 7-year long relationship. And so you're going to see typically hot and cold behavior. And so she acts a lot of times like a girlfriend, and it appears that he's the guy that spends the majority of time with her, but he really likes her. He feels it's one of those girls that only comes along every few years that he really connects with. It's just that she just got out of a 7-year relationship. But the good thing is, he says, she comes from a good family, solid family environment. They're close. Parents are good examples, at least so he says, because I have had times I've done phone sessions with people and they're like, oh yeah, she's got a really great relationship with her dad. And then when I get into it, I find out the dad's kind of a beta male, really soft. She's kind of like a bridezilla, walks all over her father, treats him like a doormat. And so the father ends up enabling a lot of toxic behavior. So just because the girl is tight with her father doesn't mean it's a good type of influence. So you really have to see what the dynamic is that's between them. Is it healthy? Do mom and dad have a good, healthy relationship? Are they able to work things out in a calm manner, or are they yelling and screaming and cussing at one another and being verbally, emotionally, and mentally abusive towards one another? These are things you gotta take into account. Is there a healthy archetype at home? In other words, is dad the head of the household? Is he the man of the family, or is he a doormat? Is he a people pleaser? So the more messed up and dysfunctional the parents' relationship is, that's typically what their daughter is going to model. So with that said, it's like what's obviously happening is he's really super into her, and I think she's starting to pick up on that. And typically, especially with a woman just out of a 7-year relationship, when she picks up on the fact that you're way more into her than she is into you, often what happens is she starts to back off a little bit because she feels smothered. And that's why it's super important in situations like this that as soon as you can get to the point where the woman's doing all the pursuing, typically 2, 3, 4 weeks in, under normal circumstances, you let her do all the calling, texting, and pursuing, and then you just simply set dates. Some weeks you might have 3 or 4 dates. Another week you might only have 1 or 2, and you can't get butthurt or perturbed in any way. And plus, she's made it clear that there are other guys in the picture, and you want to match and mirror those actions. If she's made it clear that she's dating other people, you should continue to keep your options open as well. And a lot of guys make the mistake when they get involved with a woman like this, and she's clear that, hey, I'm not looking for anything serious, and I just got out of a 7-year relationship. I want to have fun. I want to explore. I want to date. That you do the same thing as well. Because a lot of guys make the mistake of only dating her while she continues to date other guys. And then slowly over time, as the guy becomes more interested, he starts giving off the relationship vibe. he starts getting butthurt, perturbed, upset that she's not picking him over the other guys. Whereas you just have to look at it as she's just one of the women that you happen to be dating and are vetting or in the process of vetting for potentially a relationship. But because we know she just got out of a 7-year relationship, we have to recognize that there's a good chance she'll go back to that guy because she's going to be way more emotionally bonded to him than this guy that she's been seeing for about 7 weeks. And what happens also is that she'll be hot and heavy and really into the guy, talking about a relationship sometimes. And then a week later, she's totally cold. I need space. I need to figure myself out. I need to work on myself. You hear those kinds of things. So there can be a lot of flaky behavior. That's why the book cautions you against getting involved with women like this just because they haven't taken the time to heal. So with all that in mind, a nice little diatribe there, let's go through his email. He says, "Hey, Coach, I recently started dating a woman now in week 7. Everything's going great. I've read your book 10 times and I watch your videos. About 2 months ago, I met an amazing woman whose number I got, which then 4 days later, when I called, resulted in a date the following week. We were both in our mid-20s and in the same college, however, different majors. I started the dating, and one thing I want to say about that is I sometimes see these comments from guys that are this age going, oh, what? Oh, Coach, you don't understand. Our generation, all we do is text. And it's like, yeah, this guy calls her on the phone, makes a date with her. And besides, I'm my girlfriend right now, she's 31, so it's, I mean, you can go against reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. And what I talk about in the book is texting is lower risk, less intimacy. Where you run into mistakes is trying to make jokes and stuff with somebody you just met through text. That's why it's so much better and it's more masculine, especially when over the years dating women that are much younger than me, calling on the phone. It's almost all of them are shocked when I call them versus just texting. And when you're in a relationship, even with women that are younger, typically what they do when they reach out is 9 times out of 10, you get a FaceTime call, which seems to come in when you're on the shitter oftentimes, or a phone call. It's not a lot of texting. There is some texting, but it's when you're intimate and you're close, it's typically phone calls and FaceTime is what you're going to get. It doesn't matter how young or how old they are, and especially the younger women really appreciate that because almost every guy that's their age or around their age is just strictly texting. Because texting is easier, it's lower risk, less risk of rejection, whereas a phone call, it just shows more masculinity and you're more willing to take a risk, especially when you're in the initial dating process. That's why it's always more masculine to call, but it's okay to text. It doesn't mean it's set in stone, but I see a lot of guys often in the comments that are younger go, oh, Coach, you don't understand. You're 53. It's like, dude, my girlfriend's a few years older than you. It's like, give me a break. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about. I've been doing this for multiple decades. So he says, I started the dating process pure textbook. I was the James Bond character and the naughty little brother during the dates. We had a lot of fun, and I ended up at her place the first night. Since then, I waited for her to initiate contact every week, which she did, and we ended up meeting 1 to 2 times weekly. And during each date, I would sleep over and claim my fair share of medals in the indoor Olympics. And so typically what's going to happen is usually it's after you sleep with a girl that they start reaching out to you. And that's why, as the book says, just 1 date per week. Because the idea is you're trying to go slightly slower than she is. You want her over the weeks to get to the point where she's a little frustrated that things aren't moving fast enough. And most guys are way too overeager and call and text way too much. And it gets in the way of her attraction slowly building. Even though women complain about it, I've done plenty of videos over the years, especially the podcast with the girls. There's one reel that we did where we talk about a guy calls and texts too much, and then he notices that the woman texts less, she texts less often, her responses are shorter, she takes longer to reply, and so when you notice that, you back off, and it's usually the women that are of cat lady age are the ones that are the most vocal. How that's not true. It should be 50-50. You see that kind of nonsense in the comments. But the reality, and then you got all the guys. This is one of the reels on Instagram. I think I got it pinned to my profile right now. It's 700. I'm closing in on 800,000 views at this point. But it's just funny. It's usually the cat lady women are in the comments going, "This is not true. Don't listen to this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about." And there's a ton of dudes in the comments going, "Yep, this has totally been my experience. Coach is totally right." But it's just kind of funny because women are saying one thing, but the reality is they respond to something different. Plus, a lot of women are getting triggered by that video and didn't really even, you can tell by their responses, they didn't even listen to what I was actually saying. They're just, it's not true, and dismissing it outright. That's why it's, when you're getting advice from women, often the advice is contradictory, and almost 100% of the time it doesn't work. They're giving you the politically correct version of what they think or what they've been told, but they never really look at their emotions and the type of guys that they date. That's why a great question I always ask these, when women claim something, I want a guy that wines me, dines me, buys me flowers, that kind of thing. I want a guy that texts me all the time. I want it to be 50-50. Okay, tell me about all of your boyfriends and the guys that you were most in love with, and then ask them what these guys did, how often they called, how often they texted, what frustrated them about these guys that irritated them, but they still kind of liked it. And then you get the real answer. So it's all about, when you understand it, you can ask the right question and get the right answer. Instead, because if you get a room full of women together and you say, it should be 50-50, what do you think? Ladies, yeah, absolutely, sure. But when you talk to them, the guys they were most deeply in love with, and the guys they remember, the guys that make them smile even 20 years after the fact, it's always the guys that did the things that are in my book. I didn't make women this way. I'm just the messenger. I'm just telling you the way it happens to be. And so it's also important, especially with a woman that's dating other guys, that you spend enough time that the sex is good. Because I've had plenty of emails, especially from younger guys, that are like, we hooked up, everything was great, we had a great first date or whatever, and we had sex. And the girl ghosts him after that. It's like, obviously the sex wasn't very memorable if they didn't reply back. So that's one thing that's important. You got to give a girl, as my old English girlfriend would have said, Katie, she would say, a proper seeing to, which, by the way, we're starting to release. Katie happened to stop by last month, and we did a bunch of podcasts with the girls, went through a lot of viewer questions. People had a lot of questions on us and our relationship, the things we learned. And so those podcasts are starting to get released now on YouTube and Spotify and my Rumble and my other social media. So you guys, especially guys that for years been wanting to know, hey, are you ever going to have your old girlfriends on? Can we ever ask some questions? So over the next couple of months, I think we got something like 40 different videos with her, 40 different questions, a lot of interesting topics, and they're, the ones that we've released so far, especially the ones on Instagram are doing real well. Lots of comments. People are really interested to see what Katie had to say. It was really great of her to stop by when she was in town for a few days and hang out with us. So I hope you guys enjoy those and check them out. So he said she would drunk dial me when she's out with friends, asking if I could come rescue her or if she would have to settle for some other guy. And so part of that is like, hey, there's other guys, and difference makes a difference. It's like, because if you're the prize, if she's trying to win you over and convince you ultimately to be her boyfriend, then you're going to be amused about other men. You're like, hey, he can keep you busy when you're not with me. Like one of the lines that's right out of my book, 3% Man. It's a good response to show it's like you don't really care one way or another. And so if she's, kind of talking about other dudes, it's like, whatever. It's like you, in essence, kind of want to have the attitude of, I dare you to find somebody better than me. Go ahead. And if she does, hey, wish all the best. Because if you love somebody, you want them to be happy, even if it's not with you. And a lot of people that have already seen the videos with Katie, it's like, 17 years later, people, are commenting in the comments how much she admires and respects me after all of this time. And that's when you really connect with somebody on a soul level and they're a good person, a good human being, they'll never forget you. And, out of all the guys that she's met and dated over the course of her life, it's like, I'm still a man. And she's amazing. She's just an amazing woman. And you guys can see why on video, because she's so bubbly and so happy and so upbeat and fun to get along with, fun to be around, easy to be around. It's like, it's great to have friends like that in your life. It's great to date women that way because life is hard enough. And a lot of us have or are dating women that are, quite frankly, are really difficult and they're a fucking pain in the ass. So easygoing, easy to get along with is what you want to strive for. And so if you've got the attitude of, hey, I dare you to find somebody better, like that old Tom Petty song, Good Love is Hard to Find. It's like, hey, if I don't take you all the way, then go. Go find somebody else. And that needs to be the attitude, because you want somebody that really wants to be with you, that really chooses you, that feels like they won the prize. They hit the lottery when they got or get to date you. Because the worst thing you can do in a situation like this is a girl 2 weeks out of a 7-year relationship is get clingy, get needy, get butthurt, get perturbed if she talks about another guy or going out on other dates. You have to just recognize and see the situation as it is, that, hey, there's a good chance it's probably not going to work out. Like, one of the things that I like about Elon Musk is that he's a realist. Like, when he talks about Tesla or SpaceX and the different companies that he started, he's like, honestly, when I started Tesla, numerically, the odds were against us that we were going to I'd spend a bunch of money and I would fail. Same thing with making rockets. It's like nobody had ever built a private rocket company that was profitable. He expected it to fail. Even though he tried to make it a success, he was also a realist. He was like, the odds are not in our favor of making this work. And so when you get involved with a woman like this, you have to understand the odds are not in your favor that it's going to work out and you're going to live happily ever after. However, you're going to be open to it. You're going to be open to her changing your mind, instead of having the mindset that most guys have, which is, how do I get her to pay attention to me? How do I win her over? How do I get her to choose me over all these other guys? If you're a prize, if you're a catch, just being a dude that makes over $100,000 a year, you're a fraction of the top 1%. Most women are not going to encounter those type of dudes very often. And if you got your shit together, you're a prize. You're a rare commodity. And so you need to act like it. But if you act desperate and needy and you chase and you over pursue, even if you make millions of dollars a year, you're going to turn her off for the same reason that a guy making $30,000 a year is going to turn her off when he behaves the same way. Yet some dude that, can't seem to hold down a job and is always broke, but acts like a man and acts like a prize and a catch, the girl never leaves him. I mean, you look at somebody like Conor McGregor. When he was broke and struggling and had no money, this girl stuck with him. And she still sticks with him this day now that he's rich and successful. But she was with him when he had nothing. So she's there because she cares about him. Unlike the first guy yesterday was talking about his flashy Italian suits and how he made $1 million and he's got a nice car in the penthouse and he's bragging about all his things. And the problem he was having is that all the women he was attracting seemed to be into his stuff, but not him. So it's really important what the vibe is that you're putting out there. If you love yourself, you value yourself, especially if you built up your reserve of knowledge and develop your gifts, your skills and talents to where you make 6 figures or more a year, you got to understand, dude, it's like you're a very, very rare man. And you have to think like that and act like that. Because even if you do well financially, but internally you don't think very highly of yourself and you don't think you deserve to have what you want, what'll happen is you'll pursue too much, you'll act needy, you'll act desperate, you'll get butthurt, you'll get perturbed. Whereas here, when you know what you're doing, the James Bond attitude is like, he's kind of a schmuck, like, hey, if you like that kind of thing, good for you. You can't be intimidated by it. You have to be amused by it. You don't see another dude as a threat. You see another guy that she may be dating as he's kind of a joke, not anybody you take serious. And if she does run off with him, it's like, whatever. There's another bus every 15 minutes. You want to be with somebody that really wants to be with you and makes the effort. That's the important thing. He says, I challenged her, saying, sadly, she'd have to settle, which made her sound disappointed, but then led to great passionate sex the following date. Yeah, so she's talking about another guy and says, hey, there's another guy here. And he's like, well, you should probably go be with that dude then. It's like, because you don't care. You're unattached. You're not a dick about it. You're indifferent. Because I know what I got. I know what I bring to the table. That needs to be your attitude. Since we both have pretty busy schedules, this approach with no interactions during the weeks and spending Friday and Saturday together during the weekends has worked great. She never wants me to leave. We eat together, cuddle, laugh, and all the amazing stuff. And she looks at me like she is in heaven. Now, the reason why I am writing. During the first date, she said she was not looking for a relationship because most guys she encountered do. And that's her way of saying, hey, this is what I like. This is what I want. Let's just hang out, have fun, and hook up without saying that. And the reason she says she's not looking for a relationship is either you gave her that vibe or she's just used to men throwing their dicks at her. And she's like, slow down. She's trying to help you because she likes you. So recognize that any kind of pressure in that direction is going to do nothing but push her away. It's not going to pull her towards you. She recently came out of a 7-year long, boring relationship 2 weeks prior to our meeting and wanted to be free and single. That's why you need to have the attitude of, hey, may the best girl win. But just like Elon Musk is a realist, you got to say statistically, realistically, a woman who was in a relationship for 7 years and has been single for 2 weeks, the odds of that, her and I working out together and living happily ever after, are not in our favor. It's probably not going to work. I will give her the benefit of the doubt to win me over, but I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. But we can sure have a lot of fun, and we'll see where it goes. Because the relationship has to be her idea. He says, all I've been focusing on during our dates are the 3 H's. Hang out, have fun, and hook up. That's it. That's the formula. Your job in the courtship is to create an opportunity for sex to happen. To hang out, to have fun, and to hook up while you're hanging out. And if you're ultra religious, no sex until marriage, obviously the hooking up part happens on your wedding night. But other than that, everything else is the same. He says, I've never talked about exclusivity or anything, and all focus has been on to create an amazing, fun opportunity for sex to happen. That's why it's so easygoing. You make it easy to be with. And when you make it easy to be with her and there's no pressure and she's the one facilitating the get-togethers because you're letting her initiate all the contact, you don't have to worry about over-pursuing. It's her that's doing most of the pursuing. You make it easy for her. So in other words, you're a net positive and a net benefit to her life instead of a guy that's trying to lock her down and smother her like most guys are going to do. 2 weeks ago, she told me in frustration that she had a crush on me, but she is not in love, and told me that she feels like I think she's in love with me, but she really isn't, although she likes me very much. I told her with a smile that she is crazy. I kissed her and then said that the only thing I am focusing on is us having a great time, and we had an amazing date ending with great sex and very intimate cuddling where she asked me to hug her hard while spooning. I feel like she's opening up more and more, and is it possible that she could in time turn that crush into love and want a relationship? See, this is part of this guy's problem. I'm going to read that statement again because this right here reveals his mindset, and this is the opposite of what the book teaches. You should be in the mindset of, is this girl good for me? She just got out of a 7-year marriage. She's single for 2 weeks, so more than likely this is probably not going to work out. So you're not even going to be thinking about or focusing on these things. You're just going to be like, hey, I want to hang out, have fun, and hook up as often as I can. She's a candidate. Maybe somebody better comes along that's been out of a relationship for a year or two, and they're really ready and looking for one, and that it may progress faster with somebody else. You have to remain open to it. But this is the danger zone here, this mindset. He says, I feel like she is opening up more and more, and is it possible that she could, in time, which shows that he's doubting himself, turn that crush into love and want a relationship? Who cares? Relationship is all feminine energy. Bonding, connecting, opening up to receive love, dating and relationship labels. That's all feminine energy. That is not masculine energy. And so you're acting like a chick when you think this way. You're acting like an insecure little girl when you have this kind of a mindset. That is the opposite of what the book teaches you to do, and you need to pay attention to that. So again, as a coach, because I've been doing it so long, when people talk to me in phone sessions and I hear things like this come out of their mouth, or in this case, I see it in an email, I know exactly what his mindset is. And I'm pointing out that his mindset is the opposite of what it needs to be. He's thinking like a girl instead of a dude. He says, I will focus on the 3 H's. I am seeing other women, but I cannot deny that this one is special. She has special potential. She's not special. You don't know yet. You've only known her for 7 weeks, dude. So calm down. You're getting carried away on your emotions, and this is what causes you to act dopey and feel dopey and put her on a pedestal. He says it's the kind of woman that comes along once every 3 years or so. She comes from a great and safe family as well. So I would, like I said, I would do what I focused on. This guy needs to switch his mindset around. Instead of, is this girl good for me? Do I really want to get involved? The girl that just got out of a 7-year relationship 2 weeks before I met her. The odds of it working out are not good, but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. I like her a lot, but the odds are just not in our favor. But hey, maybe she'll change my mind. I'm open to that. And then if you have that kind of mindset, then she's going to be the one convincing you to commit to her. And even when that comes up, you might say that. You say, honestly, you were in a relationship for 7 years, and we literally started dating 2 weeks after you became single. So, if it's like, say you're 3 months in and she's like, I want to be exclusive, just say, I want you to know I'm kind of skeptical because you never really took time to heal and get over the end of your 7-year relationship. So I'd really just like to take things slow and see. I like how things are going, but, I don't want to rush into anything. Because, again, I don't know this dude that you were with. You were with him for 7 years. It's like, I know women that are in your situation often will go back to the ex. Just one day things are great, and the next day they miss the ex, and the ex comes back, and then they disappear. I mean, those things happen. So I just want to take my time. I don't want to rush anything because, again, scarcity creates value. So if you're thinking from that kind of mindset that, hey, I like you a lot, but your situation is not really ideal because you were with one guy for 7 years and you took no time to heal. You took no time to get over it. You literally replaced one form of intimacy with another, which obviously is me. I'm honored that you're bringing up being close and being in a relationship, but you gotta understand, I'm kind of skeptical. And just because I've dated other women in the past that were right out of a relationship and they tend to be all over the ice. You've been more consistent than them, I'll give you that. Maybe that's a testament to your family and your parents raising you properly, but I just want to take my time. I don't want to rush anything. And if she has to work to get you to commit to her, if you're not just like, okay, let's do it, she's going to value it more. Remember, scarcity creates value, so let her work to earn you, especially women that are right out of a relationship. You have to do that, or else you'll chase them right out of your life and they'll bounce really quickly, and you'll literally send them right back into the arms of their ex. So if you got a question or challenge and you'd like to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.